Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at NDN TV Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button and be the first to get notifications.
Who is afraid of the Petroleum Industry Bill, PIB, and why has it not been passed into law several years after it was first introduced into the National Assembly? These are some questions agitating the minds of concerned Niger Deltans over the fate of a proposed law crafted to transform the fortunes of Nigeria's ailing oil and gas industry. In this report, the Kenami Ofori takes a look at the implications of the delay in the passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill for the future of the oil and gas industry, as well as the development of oil-producing communities in the Niger Delta.
The Petroleum Industry Bill, PIB, was first introduced in the National Assembly soon after Nigeria's transition to democratic governance in 1999. The proposed law was crafted to replace the obsolete Petroleum Act of 1969, under whose operation Nigeria's petroleum industry had witnessed many setbacks. Under the direct supervision of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) and its subsidiaries, Nigeria's 4 refineries were left to decay for decades, making it a major importer of refined petroleum products. Till date, the investment climate in the industry has been adversely affected by incessant conflicts between host communities and oil companies over vexed issues on environmental and social injustice in the Niger Delta. In the last 50 years, lack of accountability and transparency, as well as massive corruption, have characterized operations in the petroleum industry on account of weak governance. In spite of its laudable goals, the PIB has been debated and revised many times to the consternation of industry watchers.
All the assembly members that we have had, since 1999 that democracy came to be, should be held responsible for the delay in passing the Petroleum Industry Bill. Successive executives in Nigeria, that's the federal government in Nigeria, will also be held responsible, for the delay or non-passage of this bill.
We need to run as a commercially oriented and profit-driven petroleum entity. Not just for the refineries, but also for the other arms of the Nigerian oil and gas industry, which is what the Petroleum Industry Bill seeks to address.
To ensure its speedy passage, the Buhari administration in 2015 split the proposed legislation into 4 distinct bills. The Petroleum Industry Governance Bill was given priority attention and passed at different times by 2 chambers of the National Assembly in May 2017 and January 2018. However, in August 2018, President Buhari withheld assent to the harmonized PIGB. The Nigerian leader said his action at the time was to avoid ambiguity and conflict in interpretation of the proposed law. The clamor in the Niger Delta for a speedy passage of the PIB is not without basis. In its host communities component, the bill makes it mandatory for oil companies to incorporate petroleum host and impacted communities development trust funds, through which they would make an annual contribution of amounts equal to 2.5% of their actual operating expenditures for the development of oil-producing communities. However, there are fears that delayed passage of the PIB has been due largely to deep-seated political interests.
I think it's a problem of Nigerian politics. Everybody wants to have free access to the oil industry, oil and gas industry. Government uses it, those who are in power uses it to empower themselves and do whatever they want to do with it. And they feel that if you have the right laws, they won't have access to the oil and gas industry vote. I think that's the politics that is setting us back.
Much to the relief of many observers and participants in the petroleum industry, President Buhari, upon receiving a harmonized version of the PIB, recently transmitted it to the National Assembly for speedy consideration and passage into law.
By 31st December 2020, everything about petroleum industry bill should have been closed out, including assent by the executive.
And I think that we have a very small window of opportunity to save Nigeria the hemorrhage. We've been bleeding, so we need to do it fast and get at par with the world.
Following President Buhari's recent transmission of a harmonized version of the PIB to the National Assembly, the proposed legislation has successfully scaled its second reading in the Senate and referred to 3 joint committees to critically study its provisions. At the end of their assignment in 8 weeks, the committees are expected to report back to the Senate, whose leadership has promised to make the passage of the PIB one of the legacies of the 9th Assembly. Beyond mere platitudes, the present Nigeria's federal lawmakers are expected to walk the talk and break the jinx surrounding the passage of a bill intended to transform the country's ailing petroleum industry.
Inside the Niger Delta,